going on, Jerome's? So the Minnesota Vikings could and should be looking for the quarterback of the future in this upcoming draft. Even if things work out with Kirko, having the luxury of having your quarterback of the future being able to sit, marinate, break down fundamentals, get into the playbook, get familiar with his teammates, all of that stuff does matter versus just throwing him into the fire. And, I mean, when you toss a rookie out there, it can be sink or swim. It could be like Bryce Young, sink. It could be like CJ Stroud, swim. But we've seen that, I mean, if your quarterback of the future has a year or two to sit and really get acclimated to the NFL game, it can be beneficial, especially if that rookie is young, just like JJ McCarthy is going to be coming into the league at 21 as a true junior. But, Vikings fans, like when you bring up JJ McCarthy, I feel like a lot of Vikings fans, complain about it. It's like, oh, why did he only throw 18 passes in the national title game and 0 touchdowns? Why would the Vikings want him? So they'll talk about that, but then they'll completely ignore the Rose Bowl semifinal game where JJ McCarthy was dynamite, completing over 70% of his passes. Well, that's not math. Whatever. High completion percentage, 8.2 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns against Terry Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Dallas Turner, all of that Nick Saban defense. So that's pretty damn good in a big time spot, man. But people just ignore that. It's kind of like Penix. People just focus on what Penix did in the national title game against Michigan, a great defense, but ignore what Penix did in the Texas game in the semifinal against a great defense. But it is what it is. And for the quarterback rankings, shuffled the deck a little bit. So I still, traits-wise, I still think Drake May is going to be up there. Caleb Williams is the ultimate wild card if he can pan out on that potential. Yes, Jane Daniels is still a stud for me. I got McCarthy ahead of Penix and Bo Nix and hell, I even got Rattler above Bo Nix at this point because I understand Bo Nix has the huge box score stats, but what we saw at the Senior Bowl, I greatly wonder if Nix. So I'm not an arm strength snob. Like, not every quarterback needs to be Jeff George or Jay Cutler, but you have to have a minimum level to be able to be a threat downfield at the third level. I don't know if Nix has that. I'm worried about that. Penix with the age and injuries. Rattler, a little bit inconsistency. That's putting it mildly, but he had himself a great Senior Bowl week, not just the game, but the practice in general. I think that a lot of questions came in about Spencer Rattler's attitude. I think he answered a lot of those questions at the Senior Bowl. I think it's really good. But JJ McCarthy, for me, given his age, given his traits, I think that he is rising up. And now his black and white college stats really aren't anything to write home about. Like, he never had a 3,000-yard passing season, which is hard to do in college football nowadays. But it stems from the fact that Michigan wanted to be a run-first team, and they were. I mean, it was Blake Corum. Donovan Edwards was getting in there, too. Had himself a big game in the Natty against Washington. Also, that's a big reason why McCarthy had muted stats, because they didn't need to throw the football. I mean, they were so dominant in the running game, especially in the first quarter, that Harbaugh was like, we're good. We're good. So they want to run the football, and a big plus for McCarthy is that working with Harbaugh, he does come from a pro-style offense, and so he'll be able to transition pretty quickly. But, I mean, the stats are what they are. And, in college football, quarterbacks can put up insane numbers, as evidenced by, Bo Nix at Oregon. But I feel like McCarthy's game translates a little bit better to the NFL, and I feel like the analysts are starting to warm up to things. And Thor Nystrom, who is an authority in college football, I feel like no one watches or studies more college football than Thor. Love and respect his opinion. Big time respect for him. So he put this up. JJ McCarthy's tape is dotted with dimes. He was one of the nation's best third and long and fourth by the numbers. He did it without an awesome wide receiver core. I mean, Roman Wilson is up there, but in terms of there wasn't a dominant outside the numbers guy. Right, he certainly didn't have the suite of weapons like Michael Penix had at Washington, and in a pro-style offense that didn't give him empty calorie stats. Sort of a shot at Bo Nix. His game will translate. And also, so Jake Butt responded to that tweet by Thor. Jake Butt, former Michigan tight end, great handle, by the way. JBooty88, woo, all about that ass. I say this so often. Do not look at college stats without context. College stats are extremely deceiving. Example, Michigan went 15-0 and blew out a large part of their schedule. They are a run-first team, so you would have multiple things working against JJ stats. Run first, dominant equals don't play in the second half. And he has a point about that, where, yes, they're a run-first team. And also, I mean, a lot of these Michigan games got out of hand early. So 30-3, 35-7, 31-6, 31-7, 45-7, blah, 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 blah. A lot to a little. Like, the only real games that Michigan was in the regular season, I mean, Penn State for a while, Maryland for a hot second. Well, actually, Maryland sort of had Michigan on the ropes for a hot second. What up, Tulia? And also the Ohio State game was a near-run thing, but they blanked Iowa. Both Alabama was a close-ish game, went into overtime. But other than that, like, they weren't really challenged at all this season. 52-10 by the Gophers. What up? Good job, PJ. So a lot of that is that, hey, there isn't a shootout here like Caleb Williams had at USC every single week, where it's like, hey, if we don't score 50, we're going to lose because our defense is so bad. Or there wasn't these close-ass games where, McCarthy had to be throwing significant numbers late into the game, or they weren't in catch-up mode for a large part of their schedule, unlike Washington, when the Huskies and Penix were in close games all season long. So that definitely works against him. So you have to view the film through that lens. Once you recognize that, you see a bunch of transferable traits for JJ, combined with clear examples of leadership, humility, and character. You have the makings of a potential franchise quarterback. And I feel like, Butt's got a point there. And JJ, he does have a big-time arm. He does have three-level strength. He does have three-level accuracy. He's got that clutch gene, too. Like, when they needed a play or a drive from him over the last 2 years, like, he is generally delivered. He makes throws off schedule. Like, he's not a running quarterback per se, and also I wouldn't necessarily put his rushing ability up there with, like, say, Josh Allen, but he can move. He certainly can move, and that is a plus. Also, solid frame. He's 6'3", just over 200. Can certainly add some good weight, but also in that run-first offense, yada, yada, yada. And, with Harbaugh in Michigan, like, Harbaugh, former quarterback, his quarterbacks, whether it's Josh Johnson, Andrew Luck, etc., like in college, they're coming in with good fundamentals. They're coming in with good footwork. And McCarthy, learning from a former pro NFL quarterback in Harbaugh, like, he does have an advantage there. Also, advantage is his age. Like we said, he's 21, coming out after his true junior season, and he still has a lot of room to expand his game. It's not like Nix and Penix who are coming in as a little bit older prospects, and sometimes that can work against you. Well, sometimes it can be a benefit because the quarterback has more experience, but also it can work against you, is that the wet cement of your quarterback mind may be a little bit more hardened, and also you may have some training scars that you have to unlearn when you come into the game. Whereas, McCarthy's still learning and growing and showing. So I feel like this is definitely a lot more palatable than it was like right after the national title game. I think people are realizing that, hey, you have to go beyond the box score, and also you look into the factors of why McCarthy didn't put up Lulu passing numbers, but you look at his fundamentals, you look at his arm strength, you look at his accuracy, you look at his leadership, you look at his clutch gene. Those are all things that will be translatable on Sundays, and it is a spot where the Vikings just stick and pick and take McCarthy at 11. I understand that a lot of the mock draft simulators have him in the second round, and we're guilty of that too, but I don't think that he makes it out of the first round. And also you see a lot of the reports that the league is higher on McCarthy than a lot of the mock draft people. So I think that McCarthy is going to be a top half of the first round pick, and that might be being a little bit conservative. And it's a spot where even if the Vikings re-sign Kirk for a year or two, and they decide that JJ McCarthy is the guy, and they just stick and pick and take him at 11, if that's their decision, I'm mad at it. I'm mad at it all. But we'll see. Anyways, your thoughts. Our thoughts are Vikings fans warming up to JJ McCarthy. Oh, JJ to JJ, blah, blah, blah. Also, if you sign Josh Jacobs, JJ. Play action to JJ. Throws to JJ. Dynamite. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo bunch next time. Skol, production value.